Right in the divan, the main internal question is left hanging. Ishak is already asking to be removed, but the final decision is pulled out through pauses and the answers of the others. After that setup, the struggle for influence in the camp is unlikely to fade into the background in the next episode. When Mahmud is handed the Grand Vizier's seal right before the campaign, it is not just a reshuffle, but a transfer of full responsibility onto him. It makes sense to expect that the next blow to the campaign and to the Shahzada will come through Mahmud's decisions. But Mehmed immediately keeps both Ishak and Mahmud close, as if deliberately denying either one full control. Because of that, the next episode will most likely bring hidden rivalry back between the new and former first man, now against the backdrop of battle and losses. Even before the major clash, a specific threat is spelled out. Vlad is already taking revenge and has marked Bahadur as the next target. After a conversation like that, it is reasonable to expect Bahadur's line not to dissolve into the general battle, but to return through a personal hunt. What matters here is not the search itself, but the conclusion. Suleiman's body is not there, which means the story did not end with an ordinary execution. That is why the next episode is very likely to bring Suleiman back, not as the missing man, but as the carrier of dangerous truth about Vlad. The talk about spiritual readiness before the campaign sounds like a direct hint at the price of the next move. After that emphasis, it is logical to expect the next episode to begin not with triumph, but with a reckoning over losses, wounds, and who will answer for them. Mahmud's letter to Mustafa plants a separate mine under the whole campaign. Another Shahzada is being called into the camp in advance. Judging by that choice, the succession question may break into the military storyline in the next episode before anyone can contain it. Mehmed directly reminds Mahmud how politics around Bayezid already ended once, and then warns him not to become Mustafa's victim. That strongly points toward the continuation. The next episode will most likely fuse the military crisis and the palace game into one pressure point. And if you like dense breakdowns like this, drop a like and subscribe. Suleiman finally names Irina, and that is no longer a guess, but a breach inside Vlad's circle. After that confession, the next episode may well force Irina either to erase the traces quickly or become a target herself if Vlad realizes where the leak came from. Vlad does not kill the prisoner right away, but keeps him alive and humiliated, practically on a leash. A pause like that usually serves a later move, not just cruelty. So Suleiman will most likely be used next, either against Mehmed or against Vlad's own side. Gabor's quarrel with Katerina matters because they no longer hide the crack even in a closed room. After a scene like that, it makes sense to expect any serious setback on the battlefield to immediately turn into a fight between them over who is to blame. The news of the Pope's death lands not as distant politics, but as a signal that Matthias is playing his own game and serving no one. That means outside support for Mehmed's enemies may become even more dangerous in the next episode, precisely because of hidden calculation, not open alliance. Matthias does not come in person, but sends long-range cannons and firearms, almost buying himself a place in the coming war. Judging by that framing, the theme of outside aid to the enemy may move to the front in the next episode through direct battlefield consequences. Mehmed states the order of targets out loud here. First Vlad, then Gabor. After such a clear priority, it is logical to expect the next episode to settle the personal score between the brothers first, and only then shift the full strike toward the Bosnian king. Vlad talks about Bahadur as a hunter again, while also breaking Suleiman down, as if preparing a backup move. That suggests Bahadur will likely have to do more than chase Vlad in the next episode, and they also deal with the fallout of Vlad's games around prisoners and traitors. Katerina keeps holding on to Vlad even after his disappearance and all the promises he has not kept. With trust this blind, it makes sense to expect that in the next episode her faith will hurt her the most, once it becomes clear whom Vlad chose to save first. Mehmed quickly understands the main thing from the tracks. Suleiman is not dead, which means the chain of betrayal is still open. Because of that, the search for Suleiman will most likely become not a side mission in the next episode, but the key to exposing the whole enemy scheme. The dog torment scene matters not because of Suleiman's scream, but because he reaches the point where silence becomes impossible. After that pressure, the most logical outcome is that at the first chance, he either breaks and tells everything or turns against Vlad himself. Ishak's warning about the dangerous road and the weakness of the volunteers sounds far too precise to remain just a line. Against that backdrop, the next episode will almost certainly continue the question of what this choice cost and who will answer for the losses on the forward route. The enemy's first trap is built on the fact that the Ottomans have eyes, but the opponent has figured that out and strikes at the scouts. From that move, it is logical to expect both sides to keep hitting not the center, but the people who carry information and change the tempo of the battle. Selimi's death matters not by itself, but by the way it hits Shamil and makes the war personal. After such a loss, Shamil will most likely no longer just hold the line in the next episode, but go after the specific men responsible. When part of the men broke and ran, the volunteer line shifted at once from heroic to unstable. That hints that Mehmed will have to do more in the next episode than press the enemy. He may also need to rebuild a shaky flank before it is hit again. The conversation after taking the line on the Drina shows Isak's operation was part of a broader calculation, not a random sortie. That is why Isak will most likely regain part of his weight in the next episode, despite having just been replaced in the divan. Gabor's shock that the fortress was taken, not by the whole Ottoman force, but by Ishak's small detachment, hits his confidence harder than any speech could. After a blow like that, it is logical to expect Gabor to start twitching and making sharper, more nervous choices next. The line about help reaching Shamil matters because it is a promise the story still needs to cash in. So in the next episode, the Shamil, Gazanfer, and forward unit line is not closed yet, and may become the base for another turning point. Here Suleiman gets the key truth. Dragan was killed not by the Ottomans, but by Vlad, and all his faith in his choice collapses. After that revelation, Suleiman is very likely to stop being a blind tool in the next episode and try to atone through action. Vlad and Gabor's argument over the plan shows the enemy has no single center, and Vlad is no longer a petitioner, but the one imposing the move. That strongly hints that once the shared plan breaks, their alliance in the next episode may start falling apart from within. In the camp, they name the enemy numbers and separately admit they do not know about the enemy artillery, and that missing piece matters most. Judging by this, the next episode has not exhausted the theme of hidden enemy trump cards yet. Mehmed places Bayezid next to Mahmud and Radu, not just as a fighter, but with dynastic weight behind it. After such a posting, any strike at the Shahzadeh in the next episode will immediately echo both in command and in the succession question. The enemy instantly reads that the volunteers may be bait to reveal the cannons, which means the battle is being fought through calculation, not only force. So in the next episode, it makes sense to expect another attempt to deceive Mehmed with his own method. Radu is brought into the battle not just as a fighter, but as a hook for Vlad, and that is said out loud. So the brothers' personal line will keep pressing on the entire battlefield, and Vlad will most likely break from calculation into personal attack again. When the enemy opens fire with its cannons, Mehmed does not read it as disaster, but as proof that the bait worked. Because of that, the Ottoman side will most likely keep crushing exposed positions in the next episode, instead of searching blindly for new ones. The line about losing a knight in a chess game shows Mehmed is consciously sacrificing a piece for the next move. After that framing, it is logical to expect one more hard decision in the next episode, where the price is high, but not accidental. Bayezid is offered retreat, but he stays, putting himself at the center of danger by choice. After that refusal, his injury at the end no longer feels random, and the next episode will almost certainly build on the consequences of that stubbornness. The order to prepare their own cannons for the flanks and the center shows Mehmed already had a second layer to the battle in mind before the turn. That means the next episode will likely show him keep striking not head-on, but through a pre-planned reserve pattern. The retreat order looks like weakness only to the enemy, but inside the Ottoman plan it is clearly bait for pursuit. So after the final cliffhanger, it is logical to expect another punishing maneuver in the next episode against those who believed in victory too early. The enemy really does rush in to finish them, and at that moment, all but admits that taking the piece opened the whole formation. After that mistake, the most logical expectation is that the next episode will show the cost of that overconfident charge for Gabor's forces and Vlad's men. The volley and the immediate order for a full assault push the battle into a completely different phase. That hints the next episode will not waste time on setup, but begin with who failed under that strike and where the front finally cracked. The line about choosing between the vizier and the Shah sounds like a direct narrative key to what comes next. After that, it makes sense to expect the next episode to force Mehmed or his circle to decide whom to save first, the ruler, the Shahzadeh, or the men holding the line. Mehmed steps into the thick of it himself, and his presence alone is enough to raise the men. Judging by that entrance, he will remain the center of the next episode, but the cost of standing so far forward will almost certainly hit those closest to him. Murad states the goal as directly as possible. If Mehmed dies, the war ends, and Mahmud hears those words. So in the next episode, Mahmud will most likely act not as an administrator of the campaign, but as the man who must shield the Sultan at any cost. The cry around the wounded Shahzada suddenly changes the balance of the finale. Now not only the battle's outcome, but the dynastic line is under threat. After a shot like that, it is logical to expect the first major scene of the next episode to revolve around Bayezid, his condition, and who is blamed. Vlad moves on Mehmed not through the army, but directly through an old score tied to betrayal and brotherhood. That suggests the next episode will continue not just a warrior's duel, but a reckoning over who broke the bond first, and why that dispute still drives the war. The finale leaves the story not on the battle's result, but on an unfinished conversation between two brothers, where the personal fully crushes the general. The most likely picture for the next episode is this. The center will be Mehmed and Vlad's duel, the fallout from Bayezid's injury, and the moment the enemy alliance begins to split under that pressure.